What's going on, guys? It's Fabian Reyes, your host of the BHD podcast, and I'm happy to be sitting here live with my best friend and the guy that we've been trying to get on the podcast physically, Nathan Treviso. What's up, man?
What's my already off the gate?
Hey, it's okay, man.
But only uphill from there. Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years since the last time we did like a live podcast. Probably more than 2 years.
It's over 2 years for sure. So it's.
But thanks for having me.
Nice to have you,
glad
man.
to be here.
It feels great, and I'm glad that we were able to plan something out. Guys, Nate's a very best friend, like I say in every podcast that he's been in, and any season that has led up to this point. He's been there from the start, starting with Power Hour with Fabs, just giving a little bio before we go into anything. And I know there's going to be some clips hopefully coming out from that. Even the headshot that was put in the graphic that we use was a headshot that we got from Power Hour with Fabs. So, dude, the history is there. And now I'm glad we get to bring it full circle and sit here and have like a legitimate, good quality podcast.
Yeah.
You were sick last time too.
I was sick the last 2 times, I think.
Really? I'm going to have to check back on record.
Maybe
for
not.
That one.
No, I've been sick before though on the podcast. It's just at least like the second or third time that I was sick. But I was really sick that last time.
I could hear it in your voice, and I was like, man, I hope he doesn't mind. Like if we still push forward with getting this out. I thought it was still a good podcast for what we could do with just being over. It wasn't even Zoom. It was just over like a phone call.
An actual phone call.
It was an actual
felt
phone
more
call.
like those ESPN radio shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know. Sometimes those episodes are needed just because I feel like the sound quality it's so organic and it feels raw.
Yeah,
and real.
It's like more real that way.
Yeah.
Especially because it wasn't just like me calling in like a quick 15 minute segment or something like that. It was like we did like an hour almost.
Yeah, no, we pushed an hour, and I think that's the great thing about Nate, guys, is we work off each other very well. I would say we're somewhat veterans when it comes to the podcast game because we've been doing this since 2018, 2019. 2019. So that's when I started back at NMSU. But I wanted to start off with, how have you felt these last 3 years or the 3 times that you've been on the podcast? How do you feel like you've grown, individually?
It's funny, like definitely 3 different versions of myself each time. Definitely. That. Yeah. Obviously not sick. So that's like a whole completely different version.
Man.
But
yeah.
Even the time before that would have been early 2020, late 2020.
Yeah.
2021.
Mm-hmm.
But, I had just started teaching. I was barely in I was still in the first year, but I must have been, I don't remember when we did it. If it was I think it was January, somewhere around there, right?
I believe we caught you on BHD right before or right as you started your teaching job. And I think we talked a little bit about, what it was like being in the classroom and, impacting kids' lives and whatnot. And then before that, I think we were still in college.
Yeah, definitely.
We were in college. And then the third time, I would say, I think there might've been 4, but the third time was closer to when you were sick. Was the sick time right before I came up here.
Yeah.
And then this might be the 4th actually.
Since graduating?
Since graduating.
This is the 3rd.
Yeah. 3rd? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
because we did the final Power Hour kind of turning into BHD, I think. No, because we did a few.
We've done
because I don't know. It's because we did those 2 here. So, but those were still during the Crux time, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Those are during Crux time. So I would say it's about 3 or 4 that you've sat here on actual, like our new branded BHD content and BHD podcast.
Yeah.
So.
And like the relaunch. Yeah. This is definitely like the 3rd time.
And how does it feel? Just thinking back, and I know it's kind of challenging. It can be just depending on what, just we had alcohol involved last time and the last couple of times that we were on. But how do you feel just as a person? We're getting to the age, man. What are we, 25, 26 years old now?
Yeah.
So
it's funny. Definitely feel more mature.
Mm-hmm.
But it's earlier this day, I was having a conversation. I was getting my haircut I go to Bennett now.
Nice, man. So, that's awesome.
He and I were talking just like how we should be adults. Like we're older. Like you tell a 20-year-old that you're 25, they look at you like you're an old man.
Oh, most definitely.
And it's right. But like when I was 20, I was definitely so much more stupid than I was now. But even now, I definitely don't really feel like an adult. I don't feel like a kid as much anymore. Definitely still like, there'll be times
I
when
understand your mindset. Yeah, I understand it. We do grown up things, but my mindset still says that I'm young and I could make the dumb mistake of staying up till 2 a.m, and still waking up at 8, but I don't have the energy that I did in college. Whereas I could get 4 hours of sleep and go to class and go to work and then maybe work another job. Whereas now it's like, if I don't get that full 7, man, I'm hurting the next day.
I don't even mean that. I mean, like there'll be times I legit walk into my house and I sit down and I'm like, okay, when is like everyone else getting here? Or like I'm walking into work and I'm like, no one's gonna stop me. I'm actually qualified to do this. Like,
okay,
I still
the responsibility,
right? And I think a part of that honestly is kind of because of COVID. Like I kind of feel like almost lost 2 years. So like really kind of more like 23. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah. It kind of, 24. Yeah. It kind of put our age on pause and just the life experiences that we could have,
we had to mature and like, we were just kind of shot into adulthood really. Like, we didn't really get graduation.
Well,
we legit went from being students to working.
That's an important thing to kind of go over is the time that Nate and I graduated college, guys. It was legit smack middle of COVID when this stuff was like legit stay in your house, curfews, Walmart closes at 4 p.m.
Yeah,
that was the era we graduated in. So yeah, I can agree with that because when I graduated, it was in this household right here.
Yeah,
I had my parents and I think my sister was here, and that was it.
Did you have it on the screen?
I had it on the screen right here. Like we were watching it, both screens. We know we bought out lunch from somewhere and it was like, oh, so-and-so graduated. Oh, no, Nathan Treviso graduated. Okay, boom. It's like, what next?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the same sense for you. I was just like, okay, what's going on next?
And that's how I felt after high school, but it was different with this one because it's like, I felt more connected to the work. And I think a lot of it is because it was doing stuff we enjoyed. And
you just tied it into, I could tie everything that I was doing leading up to my last day of my assignment or paper. And I could say, I know this is going to pay off when I get this career.
Yeah. Like I was in documentary photography at the time and we had that whole class, like the main project you're working on is documenting like different little towns and villages around the area, like Mesilla, La Mesa.
Bruce Berman, guys.
The
GOAT.
I think he's still there because I need to take 2 more classes and
that's awesome.
His name is still on there because he had been saying that he was going to retire.
He's getting
take a sabbatical.
Up there. He was getting pretty sick.
He had
right?
no cartilage at all in his knees, so he needed to have like a double knee replacement. But he can't do that and work obviously at the same time, and he didn't want to stop working.
Yeah, that's tough. Shout out to that guy.
Yeah, he's the reason I got into photography and can still continue. But
it's a retweet right there.
We were basically making a book. That was the end final assignment is making a book. And I had made a book the semester previous for that class, photojournalism, and it wasn't like great because it was, I didn't really put that much time into it, and the pictures were taken when I didn't know what it was going in there.
Okay,
but this whole one, what you're making, what it's going to be like, and we did Las Cruces and Mesilla, and that was it. Like we were supposed to go to. I don't know if it's La Mesa where Chopez is, the bar.
Yeah, it's in La Mesa.
That's La Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to
I think so. I believe it's in La Mesa.
We were supposed to meet there one time. Like that was our next town to take pictures and everything. Because our class was like Thursday afternoons once a week. And that was the reason. And they were long. It was like 3 hours so that we could go out and shoot.
You get closer to like your graduating years and, they
way bigger.
Gradually get smaller in size, but longer in terms of in intensity and in hours because of the amount of work that you got to do, especially in the path that we took.
Yeah. So we were supposed to meet there. We got rained out like 2 days in a row or so, maybe 2 weeks, and then legit like we were about to go out again to try and shoot that neighborhood or that town, that little neighborhood, and everything was shut down, and like the next few assignments were just kind of shot around our houses in like our immediate neighborhoods because that was all we could do. And
it's
was
not
pretty
the same.
Like that was probably the thing that bummed me out the second most behind not actually graduating.
And I think with any sort of like concrete career that you're going into, that you need that experience of field work to get, better at what your craft and what you're trying to do. It's important to have that stuff. And for having that taken away from us, especially in the smack middle of, it was March. Like if you guys remember, this was March. So we were on the back end of our senior year. We were so close to graduating. We needed a month and a half, maybe 2 months. People were finishing up earlier than that. And for this thing called COVID to come in and swipe everyone, and put them in a different situation. I was doing the same things you were, man. I was doing work, in my backyard, in my garage, trying to find different areas to get, inspiration and just get work turned in so I could at least graduate. Cause I went through a process where I was like, dude, I'm barely passing. Like right after spring break, I was like, dude, I'm barely passing right now. I don't know what's going on. Like,
cause we got that 3-week spring break and professors were just like, like take a break. Like we don't know.
No one was reaching out to anyone.
Because no one knew what was going on really. Yeah. Like it wasn't until maybe that a week and a half into that spring break that they were like, okay, we know at least we're going all on Zoom and then we'll let you know when we know more.
Yeah. No one was really prepared for it. And again, guys, it's just, it was frustrating. And I feel like sometimes it is, especially when you come off of graduation weekend, month, that time of year where you see people graduating from college. And it's like, I'll always, pay respect to people. And I think it's huge to like celebrate people that graduate with a degree in anything. Yeah. But just for having ours taken away, it's like we worked so hard for the stuff that we were trying to do. So it's a bummer missing out on all that. But to flip it over on the, more positive side of things, I feel like you in general, man, have like changed your perception and your outlook and your like path on how you've moved about all of this. Like I feel like I've seen a different side of you that I haven't seen ever. And it's like you're starting to know what you want to do, which is really cool. Because I remember there's a while I'd ask you like, yo, what are you trying to do, man? And you're just like, honestly, dude, I don't even know. I'm just trying to make, ends meet and make money and just live life. So, and
a part of me still like that. I mean, luckily, I have a career that's pretty solid, right? I say career loosely.
I mean, you're doing a good thing, it's a career for now. It's a career for now, but I think you're doing more good for other people than, you may think for yourself.
Right.
So that's cool.
And that's why, and I think we had talked about that probably, I'm sure on the earlier podcast, as I had mentioned the scholarship I had gotten, the Daniels Fund, they are big on, you using that opportunity to give back and give back. And so that's kind of why I gave myself the 5 years of teaching, because I was in college for 5 years. So it's like almost like repaying that debt.
It's a smart way to look at it too.
Yeah. I think it looks good on a resume. Like people, like no matter what career field I end up going into, people are going to look at that and like, oh wow, you were a teacher for 5 years. That's interesting. Like if you could deal with that, you could deal with a lot of shit.
I think that's the most important thing about being any sort of educator or working with kids in general is like, you're putting yourself aside, bad day, good day, things going on in your life, and you're molding kids' brains. Right. You're molding them and making an impact in their lives every single day to where whatever you teach them, if they say they're not going to learn it at that point, they're going to take it outside school with them. So that's more powerful than I feel like any type of work that you can do for anyone.
Right.
And I think for me, it shaped me to find out what I wanted to do, and BHD was that answer, and for you, it could shape your answer, or it could shape a clear road for you and lead you down a different path or whatever it is that you want to do. But I feel like I've seen so many good positive things that you've done, just by teaching and hearing you talk about it.
Yeah. They like coaching, like I was telling, I think we talked about that on the last one, like coaching, like I would, if it wasn't for teaching, I would have definitely never coached. Like I had thought about it in the past, but I just, I didn't have the patience, and then just to kind of be forced into it almost. It was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this. We'll make the best.
And you said yes. And that's the cool part. Like I've been trying to get back on the mindset of I get to, and I will, instead of like I have to or I should. And, sometimes those situations you got to get put into and just, take it as it is and just move forward with it. And I think it was cool, man.
Yeah. It's funny. Cause like you said, like I get to, like, I remember when everything was closed and there was like, it was every day. It was just wake up, find something to do, go to sleep, wake up the next day. I like told myself like when I'm in class or when I'm at work or something, I have to do this. I get to. Obviously, like a few months later, I was probably at work like, God damn, I don't want to be here.
Oh, it's human nature. It's human nature. And I think thoughts like that just, they're in your conscience constantly. But like you can reframe any sort of idea, which again is something that I've been trying to do better for myself, is just reframing things and directing them into a different way and just saying, okay, like, man, I don't feel good right now. But it's like 2 years ago, we were all inside, like you mentioned, watching TV for 12 hours straight. You were coming over to my apartment and we were cooking and probably drinking 3 to 4.
We made the best of it.
3 to 4. We did, but I felt so gross back then. Like
Yeah.
I look at how I was looking back then and I'm like, dude, I don't ever want to look like that again.
Yeah.
You know, like I just felt
I
so
wasn't
nasty.
working out at all.
And I wasn't
no,
either.
I was this time to get
I was
shape
barely
and work
doing
out.
anything. Like I was eating a lot and I was drinking, not a lot, but I was just drinking because I felt like that was the only thing that was appropriate to do.
That was like the only thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what alcohol is usually there for, is when people are bored. And that was like
when you're bored and when you're down, it's just like, man, we had so many plans and, you may have so many ideas that you wanted to get done in the last summer before you actually got to like find a job or however you want to look at it. And, we handled it the way we did. But I think the most important part was, we're sitting here today and we're getting ready to step into a weekend, for this. It's just an opportunity for both of us, but to get back into your shooting skills and, you've been working on that and just get back into a creative realm that I feel like sometimes can get neglected.
Right. And with photography, it's one of those things that's so easy to like, just kind of let slip by the wayside. Cause like, it's like, well, all I got to do is just pick up the camera and go shoot.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to not pick up the camera and go shoot than it is sometimes, And it sucks, like in a place like Las Cruces, there's not much opportunity to go out and get photos. Everything's the same every day. But just got to try to take advantage of those times. And there's been a few times lately that I've been, like, oh, this will be nice to take the camera. But I had recently got a film camera.
Oh,
and so I've been
sweet.
shooting a lot on that. But I've been wanting to develop my own film because it's cheaper.
Right.
And it seems like fun. But I just barely got like all of the supplies I need. So that's something I'll definitely be doing in the next few weeks. Hopefully, is developing some film.
Yeah, that's just another skill to have under your belt, especially because I feel like film photography is so like it's its own identity and it's an acquired taste. Like you gotta either be fully in to film photography or you just gotta be like you can't just be like, oh, I'll give it a try because you won't ever, fully grasp or understand what the true feeling or the true like appreciation of it is.
And I think it honestly makes you better at just regular photography because, you're limited on your shots and you don't get to see what it is. So you really got to know, like, you got to pick your shots and you got to make sure it's everything's 100% how you want it.
Got to plan everything out and see it first and then, shoot it like they always say. And I can understand that. I remember like the cool part is that Bruce taught both of us and I had the similar, influence from him. Like he really got me developed into photography. I had some decent skills, but I feel like he polished me to become like a pretty good photographer at the time. And, having that kind of course about what film photography was and taking us through the process and the dark room and just how things were going. Like it was just so cool to see what was going on.
Did you do that pinhole camera?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I really enjoyed that that assignment. And again, you appreciate having a DSLR or having a mirror or mirrorless camera with you shooting because it's just so much easier. And I feel like you're so much more confident when you go up to like a certain thing or an event or a subject and taking pictures for that.
Well, it's funny. Like I was watching a movie, and it was a sports movie. It was a football one, and it was based in like the 90s. But like it's about this kid from Arkansas who like wants to play for the Razorbacks.
Okay,
he's like kind of undersized, but he's a big kid, and like he eventually works his way on. But spoiler alert, he passes away. Sorry, it's a true story, so it's not really much of a spoiler alert. I can't remember the name of the
Don't
movie.
ever get on Twitter, guys, if you don't want a show or a movie spoiled because Nate will be that guy.
The kid that's Brandon something. I can't remember the name. It was on YouTube for free, and we watched it like the last week of classes because it was on YouTube for free. Yeah. One of the kids was like, "Oh, I've seen that one before. It's pretty good." But anyway, his brother, like, once he finally makes it onto the team, his brother's taking pictures and he's got like this old film camera. Okay. And all the other photographers obviously at that time had film cameras. And it's just crazy. Like when I was shooting sports, like you just kind of like shoot almost like 100 frames for one play or like 50 at least. But
yeah. You look back at, history all the time when it comes to photography and you just see that shot, it could be the Muhammad Ali looking over here. Like you didn't have a monitor in your face showing you the picture right after you took it and being able to say, oh, okay, I need to get closer. Oh, okay, maybe I need to back up or focus here. Like they were all just taking it out of
like, hope this works.
Yeah, like we'll give this one a shot, but it's again, it's all appreciation for, the way it's developed and the way we've kind of progressed into this whole digital age of things. But, like I will say
though, sorry, but
no, you're fine.
Even with like the digital age, I think the most high pressure type of photography is wedding photography.
Oh,
I would never want to shoot.
And that's funny that you mentioned that, because I was having this conversation with my girlfriend. She has a friend that she's very, very polished in her photography. She has a business. She's very successful. And my cousin, he does wedding videography. He has his own company, but they do like, he does a video, his buddy does a photo. And I was like, dude, I would never want to do wedding photography. Like
videography, maybe, but
videography, I'd put my hand up for videography. Photography, you missed that one moment.
Yeah, them putting the ring on, and your hand slips,
the
or
ring,
something's just
the
not
kiss,
working.
the cake, the dance.
There's like 4 or 5 pictures you absolutely have to get.
Oh, yeah.
If you miss any of those, it's screwed.
And that's just so much pressure.
Yeah,
like
that's way too much.
If someone asked me like, oh, you do photography, I'd be like, yes, but what kind of photography are you looking for? Because if
weddings.
they said wedding, I'd be like, you need to give me at least 3 or 4. Like I will happily take pictures for you, but as more of like a behind the scenes, like I will get whatever else that I can add and complement towards the photographer you're going to pay.
Yeah.
But don't think you're going to come pay me that much money to shoot your pictures, because I will miss that shot.
I would do like engagement photos.
Oh yeah.
Like those.
Well, it's like controlled environments I can completely do. But one thing is about any sort of event, regardless of how much money they're putting into the wedding, in this case, lighting is everything. And that, like 100%. Lighting is everything. And sometimes these places, like even high school gyms, are so dim. They're so dark. You need a flash. And sometimes you got a flash. You're going to piss off a lot of people that are trying to eat their dinner, or they're going to just have a weird reaction when you take the shutter or you hit the shutter. Like there's just so many things that has to go into play when it comes to all that stuff.
Yeah. But that's why I love photography. It's like such a challenge. And like, I think we've talked about this before. It's so addicting. Like you get that one good shot and then it might take, a few weeks or a month or so before you get that next one, but you're just waiting for that next one every time.
Next one. And then I've had this conversation before. I sat with a guy, really cool dude. He's a photographer and videographer out in Arizona. We went and had a couple of beers the other day, and we were talking about, everyone thinks that, it's a skill to shoot. It's a skill to take video, and it's really not. The skill is to have a creative eye for it, but to also have the post-production skill set to go and polish those,
especially with video
pictures out. Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think even a picture that is being used for a print, newspaper or publication, you still have to go in and level out things. Right. You still got to go and burn things or dodge things. Like you got to make sure that it looks crisp enough, because that is your name on it.
Well, especially like newspapers, like you have to, like, there's what you see on your computer and what everyone's going to see, like maybe on the internet or on Twitter, but then on like the actual paper itself, it's going to be different. Like they have to, to adjust the levels. There's and everything.
Levels that need to be adjusted differently. The color is completely different when it comes to paper, depending on what kind of paper it is. Like the whole rendering of digital, things. It's just like, oh, is this going on a website? Oh, is this going on like a social media post? Like so many things in depth that you could get into, but we're getting too weedy, and I feel like, this talk
for the next one.
Yeah, this is great stuff to have, probably out and just eating some casual dinner or whatnot, but just to get back on track with, how things have shaped and how we've grown, man. What do you feel like are a couple of items that you are stressing on yourself to really, or not stressing, or you're working on yourself to really like get to the point that you want to get to every day?
That's a good question. Really, like always and still, my biggest problem is just procrastinating. And, like there's stuff at work that like I know I have to do, and it's like fairly easy, but just like I just don't want to do it sometimes, and it's it doesn't matter if it's important or not that important. Like I'll put it off. And that's just, I don't know. That was always my nature as a student, and it's just kind of transferred over, unfortunately.
That's just a bad habit, I feel like, for a lot of people. I'm not even gonna say everyone, but I'm up there in that. I'm like, I know this is a priority, but I try to prioritize everything, and I'm like, this is not as much as a priority as this up here. Right. So I can get away with a day, and then a day turns into another day, and then an hour, and it's like, last minute, here we go.
Yeah. And I think I know we've talked about a lot of this, but it's just like it becomes addicting almost because like you keep getting away with it, and it's just like,
Yeah.
well, I know I really can't get away with putting it off for another day. It's like,
yeah, I feel like there's a certain time that you hit where it's just like, oh, okay, this was a wake up call. Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't wait this long, or like I feel like there comes a sense in that, or maybe you tell yourself that. And I think that's the cool part about it is because the overall theme and the talks that we have, and it's always because of how close we are. It's always, how can we get better from this day on? Right. And there may be a commonality of, oh, I need to stop procrastinating. And you may have said that 3 or 4 times throughout the podcast, that, but you may have also said other things that have, you've grown in and you haven't realized it. So I think it's a great platform to have because, sitting here and talking about like what things we can work on, it makes you accountable for it because now, like, I feel like we're aware, but now we're fully aware of like, dang, I really said this on podcast. So I got to do it now.
I said it 3 times, but no, I've definitely gotten better, a lot better. And just, staying consistent with things. Like, I just got tired of, like, I would work out semi-consistent for a little bit and then off and then semi-consistent and then off. And then it wasn't until recently that I was like working out very consistently, like 2 workouts a day, usually at least 5, 6 days a week. And then, just one bad weekend and then it like sets you back like 2-3 weeks.
Oh, man. A bad weekend or just being sick for a couple of days or coming off a vacation. That's what hit me is we got back from Vegas and I tried stepping in the gym and it took me a week and a half to get back to like actually being conditioned,
right? Like
back to the strength that I wanted to be at or where I was at.
So right. No, but I definitely feel like a lot better than even this time last year, or even at the beginning of this year. But just like that and I've been trying to get reading a lot more. I set myself a little book list this summer. I want to at least read like 5 books.
Okay.
2 just kind of for pleasure and 2, like that would help me out.
We got some philosophy type, self-development. Like
self-development. For sure.
I love stuff like that.
The one I really need to read and I want to read is a leadership book.
Oh, okay.
As former Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink. Yeah.
My dad loves that dude.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's always watching his YouTubes and sending it to me. Dude's hardcore, man.
Yeah, he is.
And I call it motivation because that's really what it comes down to when it gets to YouTube. But his type of I feel like his type of speech is very different to all these other different like motivation speakers and inspirational speakers. Like he speaks with a different direction and tone. And I think it makes him unique.
Right. He's more like, no one's going to come save you. You got to do it yourself. So get to work.
And it's like all from past experiences and previous experiences where a lot of these guys, it's like, yes, they do come from like a very, it's a different upcoming, not maybe that hard, but not to say it was easy, but sometimes they throw in like, I feel like they throw in analogies that maybe they weren't really into or it was a little far-fetched. Right. And this guy's like throwing in hardcore stuff every time. And it's like, oh, this dude lived that every day.
Right. Yeah. He knows what works and what doesn't because he's lived through it and he's gone through the